So, what is it that we must do? I'd like to paraphrase a letter from it's a letter from a reader of American Renaissance. He sent a letter to the editor not long ago. He's sitting in this room, in fact, but I won't tell you who he is. And in effect, he says, American Renaissance should not dwell on the intellectual deficiencies of blacks. It should not dwell on the cultural deficiencies of Hispanics. What American Renaissance should dwell upon is the lamentable, suicidal deficiencies of whites. And of course, he's right. Because after all, it is we who have promoted and established an immigration policy that will reduce us to minorities. It is we who lavish Medicaid, welfare, public education on illegal immigrants. Not just aliens, but illegal aliens are entitled to these things. It is we who have established a system of racial discrimination against whites. It is we who have established a welfare system in which the intelligent, responsible, hardworking citizens are taxed and, in fact, punished to subsidize the proliferation of the irresponsible, incompetent, and unintelligent. It is we who have promoted the notion that somehow for whites it is a virtue to be dispossessed. It is a virtue to walk off the stage of history. So, whose behavior requires explanation? Does the behavior of blacks really require an explanation? No. When blacks see a weakness, they exploit it. It's the natural thing to do. When they find that whites will meekly accept blame for even the most preposterous things, when they see that we will accept the blame for every single one of their failures and shortcomings, what is to stop them from heaping blame upon us? When they find that whites will not even articulate their legitimate racial interests, much less try to defend them, of course they will then promote their own. They will move into that vacuum and promote their interests at the expense of our own. And what this leads to is that increasingly they despise us, because in our weakness and in our cowardice, we are despicable. We are like the fawning dog. The harder you kick it, the harder it wags its tail. Immigrants, what about them? Is their behavior so peculiar? Is their behavior difficult to understand? No. They leave behind societies that are not successful. They wish to come to a society that is clearly more successful than their own. Well, once they get over the shock of discovering that we appear to be perfectly prepared to hand over to them the nation built by our ancestors, once they get over the shock of this, are they going to say no? Of course not. Once they discover that we are prepared to teach their children in their languages, not ours, glorify their traditions at the expense of our own, and to shower them with benefits for which they have not paid, can we expect them to say no? No. Obviously, what they are doing is perfectly natural and understandable, and they too, before long, will learn to despise us, because any people that gives away its birthright is despicable. Therefore, it is we who are the odd, the peculiar, the inexplicable phenomenon. Probably there's not been a case in the history of the world of a dominant majority people that has so willingly given away its culture, its language, its nation, its birthright. And it reminds me, practically every time I read the newspapers, I'm reminded of Vilfredo Pareto's remark, any man who would become a lamb will find wolves to eat him. Well, there are plenty of wolves out there insofar as we wish to become lambs.